What's going on, everybody? I'm Primalliquid and welcome to my guide for Atelier Yumia. In this video we are going to be going over the best weapon possible for Yumia. That includes how to make it, how to get the absolute most stats possible on it, which one we need to do, and of course how we can enhance it even further after it is made. So let's just jump straight into things, shall we? Now, once again, we are not going to be using item rebuilding because it is terrible and we absolutely do not need to. Likewise, once again, unfortunately, Atelier Yumia suffers from the same problem as I don't even know how many of the previous Ateliers, in that Yumia's best staff is unfortunately the first one. Yes, it is unfortunately a case of us getting shafted slightly again because we are going to have to use the worst ingots possible to make this. However, it is also the only one that would really increase item damage. Now, there is a slight argument to be made for the ephemeral record, okay? This one will actually pair really well if used alongside a superior grimoire. This is kind of a very niche build though, and you are limited to the air element only, which means weaknesses and resistances do come into play. However, if you are using a superior grimoire, then yes, use the ephemeral record. If you are not doing that though, and you're just doing the general overpoweredness, you know, the actual most overpowered combination in the game, then you are going to be using the Departure Gun Staff because of the item damage up ability. Now, I already have the synthesis pre-made, as you can see right there, so we are going to load that in a minute so we can have a look at item placements and why we placed what where. Before that though, however, let's take a look at the stats, shall we? So obviously quality is maxed across the board. We have 387 HP, 562 attack, 960 defense, and 440 speed. Now, it might look a little weird having way higher defense on a weapon instead of attack, but long story short, that comes down to attacks, like regular skills, are absolutely terrible in this game. Items deal quite literally hundreds, if not thousands of times more damage. So, when it comes to stats, all you want are defensive stats because all of your damage is going to come from item spam. In terms of the effects, obviously all three are maxed out at level 10. That's going to give us an extra 30% item damage. Speed up level 10 and reduce item cooldown don't really matter, but you get them anyway while maxing the stats out. So let's go ahead and load this up, shall we? Okay, so first and foremost, we do have an alchemy core for each of the three abilities: item damage up, reduce item cooldown, and speed up. Then we have the trait core, and finally the alchemy core. Now we are going to put items into all of these just for the extra stats. So let's start with the item damage up, shall we? Right after skills. So when it comes to skills, obviously it is equipment. The only skill you are ever going to use is draw out abilities. It is literally night and day the best skill when it comes to any form of equipment. So that's weapons, armor, and accessories. They all use this skill. Basically, you get an extra 50% stat increase from items like cloths, ingots, and so on and so forth that you put into the synthesis. So let's take a look at item damage up. Now, the core item here is unfortunately a forced wizened wood. You cannot get one with a core boost or a synthesis boost or anything like that. As you can see, mine is S rank and it does absolutely nothing for us. So in terms of the other items, just like the accessories and armor videos, we're actually going to be dumping in perfect sage coats, mainly due to the fact we want as big a defense boost as possible, and these offer the best one, with defense up plus level 10 and all stats up level 5. Now, if you want to use skills and you want to increase attack, that's perfectly fine. Just use grand organs instead of sage coats. Now, the keen-eyed among you might have noticed we have two items here that are not sage coats. That is this slot right here, which we are forced to use a plant material. Now, you can use a couple like the Assistive Forward, which gives you HP up plus level 10. However, I prefer the defense and the speed increase, so I've gone for a Cactal Fiber instead. Then we also have a dual slot up at the very top of the third ring, and for this we are going to use the Trillion Locket, which gives us an extra boost to defense and speed. Now, alternatively, you can use the Protectite, which will give you more defense, but you're trading that extra defense for a lot less speed. So I prefer going the middle of the ground and going for Trillion Locket. Likewise, if you want any, say, extra attack or something like that, you can use the Primalliquid. I probably just butchered the pronunciation for that. Okay, so that is the first alchemy core. Let's move over to the second, shall we? So the second one, we unfortunately do get a little shafted on. The alchemy core is a base ingot. So unfortunately, we can't stick anything too amazing in here. We only get attack up level 5 and speed up level 5. We cannot put anything else into this section. As for the first ring, we're going to use 2 Sage Coats and a Grand Organ, just because we cannot put a Sage Coat in that. So a Grand Organ is literally identical to the Sage Coat, only it changes the defense up plus into attack up plus, giving us a little extra attack there. On the second ring, we have 2 Sage Coats, and then we also have 2 Grand Organs. Once again, the Grand Organs are forced because we cannot put any Sage Coats into that slot. As for the outer ring, as you can see, it is all just perfect Sage Coats. So yes, you are going to need a lot of Sage Coats. Set them manufacturing plants up, set like 6 to 10 up, stick a Sage Coat in every single one, go away for an hour, come back, and each and individual manufacturing plant will have like 10 to 12 Sage Coats for you. And if you have like 10 manufacturing plants, that 10 an hour turns into 100 an hour. And trust me, you're going to be burning a lot of these if you're going for perfect equipment for everybody. Now, let's move on to the next core, shall we? So the next core, unfortunately, we are once again a little bit shafted. The main alchemy core is a gunpowder. And unfortunately, none of the gunpowders actually have any core boost or synthesis boost abilities. We might get some during the DLC release, however, for now on the base game, before any DLC, it doesn't matter what you put in here. Just put anything at all in the alchemy core. As for the first ring, we are going to stick in 2 Sage Coats and a Grand Organ in a slot that we can't put a Sage Coat. Then on the second ring, we are going back to Sage Coats everywhere except for over here in the water slot. Now, water is unfortunately a little bit of a problem. You have your base materials here where, you know, you can get increased synthesis quality and stuff like that, but you're not really going to get any extra stats. You do have a rebuild boost speed level 3 there, but that's terrible. We're not going to ever use that. Instead, you have your choice of essentially 2 abilities, HP up plus level 10 or defense up plus level 10. Now, I went for the Assistive Forward just because a little extra HP goes a long way with the healing item and the buffing item that is best in slot. So the extra HP, it does come in a little nice there. As for the final ring, we have a bunch of Sage Coats once again. And of course, on the expansion slots, you can only stick in 1 or 2 Sage Coats. You only get stats for 1 item in the expansion slot. So don't go sticking 20 Sage Coats in there. It is completely pointless. The only reason to ever stick more than 1 in there is if you need the extra resonance area increase to either get some extra mana stars or to unlock a locked node. Finally, the last item here is a flower slot. So for this, we are going to be using the Immortal Bloom, which once again is a HP up plus level 10, so it's extra stats for us. Okay, moving on. We have another core that we get a little shafted on. So the base ingredient is, again, unfortunately, just an ingot. There's nothing we can do about that. We have to put the base ingot in. We have 2 Sage Coats, and that is it for the first ring. For the second ring, we have another Sage Coat, a Grand Organ in the expansion slot, and then in the flower slot, we're just using another Immortal Bloom because we have nothing else to put in there. On the outer ring, we have 3 sage coats, and finally, we have another plant section where we are going to be using the cactal fiber, just because it works out a little bit better having the extra stats from that. Okay, and now we are moving on to the gunpowder section. So gunpowder, unfortunately, is another one where you don't really have any core boosts or anything like that. So stick whatever you want in there, doesn't matter. Then we have 2 sage coats on the first ring. We have a sage coat, a grand organ, and another cactal fiber on the second ring. And then finally, on the third ring, we have a sage coat here. We have another trillion locket on the dual section. Then we have a sage coat and a grand organ to finish us off. So there is quite a mix here of sage coats, grand organs, cactal fibers, and so on and so forth. And then we are back to the very start. So as you can see, all of our effects are completely maxed out, other than the quality one, doesn't matter. We are already at 999 quality anyway, so we don't need to worry about that. And of course, the mana is complete as well. So we're going to go ahead and synthesize this staff. However, we are not done. We still have something else to do, including traits. So now that we've synthesized our item, let's go ahead and go over to the forge. Now, one of the things you are definitely going to want is an anvil next to your forge, okay? The reason you want an anvil is it increases the stats that you gain when using the forge on equipment. Now, you only need 1 anvil. I've got 5 here just because I was testing to see if multiple of them made a difference. It does not. So, yeah, just have 1 anvil next to your forge and you are good to go. So now we're going to select the staff that we just made. There it is, the departure gun staff. Now, at this point, okay, there is realistically only 2 options you should ever go for. Never, ever, ever use the wisdom component. It is terrible. Skills are a bad idea in this game. Everything is all about items, and if you are in Mana Surge, you cannot use items. So completely ignore the wisdom component. Instead, focus on metal parts and primal remains. Now, what I strongly suggest is having primal remains used on your 2 accessories and your armor. That way, you are guaranteed 100% critical rate. So you do not want to do this on your weapon. You have 4 equipment slots, 1 weapon, 1 armor, and 2 accessories. Make sure you use primal remains on 3 of those slots. And of course, I'm using it on my armor and accessories. So what we're going to do is we are going to use the metal parts. The reason for this is obviously we get some extra defense. We are going to get an extra 130 defense. However, we are also going to get another item damage up and reduce item cooldown ability. And yes, they do stack with the base weapon ones. So it's going to be an amazing, amazing combination. So we're going to go ahead and select the metal parts right now. And of course, if you want to change this later, you can do. You just go back to the weapon and then select a different core. It doesn't matter. It's entirely up to you which way you want to do it. And if you do make a mistake, it's easily changeable. Okay, so now that we've looked at the weapons, let's just go ahead and equip that, and we will do the trait. Whoops, I actually need to unequip that trait right there. Let's remove that trait. Right, here we go. We have our departure gun staff. So we're just going to go ahead and quickly throw that on. Ignore the accessories missing. I'm currently duplicating them. That's why those slots are empty. Okay, so now, when it comes to traits, we have 2 really good ones for weapons, and then an absolutely terrible one that's there just because we have nothing else to put in it. So, when it comes to traits, first and foremost, we are going to use Hawkeye. This increases damage when hitting a vulnerability by rank times 10%, aka rank 6. It is going to increase damage by 60% when you hit a target weakness. And considering the best item in the game uses all elements, you're always going to be hitting a weakness. So it's a no-brainer to use Hawkeye. As for weapon trait number 2, we are going to be using Philosopher's Wisdom. Now, the reason for this is when you are in the inner range, it increases fire, ice, bolt, and air damage by 60%. Once again, the item we use is all 4 elements, which means we're essentially gaining that effect 4 times, basically. So it is crazy, crazy strong. So we're going to go ahead and throw that in. These are the 2 good actual abilities that we want. In terms of the third ability, unfortunately, we have absolutely nothing really good to put in there. So we're just going to put Feral Power in there because it increases HP, attack, and speed by 60. It's pretty much the best of the stat boosting traits that we can use on a weapon. And unfortunately, there's not really anything else to stick in there. Now, if you want to farm a specific mob, then maybe go ahead and stick a Slayer ability in there. But again, that's only if you're farming a very specific mob, just because it'll be an extra 30% damage for you. But if you are not interested in farming anything specific, then just use Feral Power because, hey, you might as well at least fill the slot, hadn't you? And there you go, guys. That is how you create Yumia's ultimate weapon. Still, I hope you guys have enjoyed this video, and I really hope it has helped. If it has, then please be sure to smash that like button and drop a comment down below. And of course, if you have any questions whatsoever, feel free to reach out either down in the comment section or via our Discord server, which is linked in the description, along with the Atelier Yumia playlist, which is going to be completely chock full of all my guides for you guys. And as always, if you're new around here, make sure you hit that subscribe button so you don't miss out on any more content. Thanks for watching, everybody, and I'll see you soon.